This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, we appreciate you joining us. We are live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as we do every weekday around 1 p.m. and we go throughout the afternoon covering a wide range of topics. And today we are talking about the 101st season of the Portland Youth Philharmonic, the second century, entering into the second century. It counts, 101. And we're going to talk all about that and get a little bit of the history of it and a preview of the season. To do that, we have musical director David Hattner and Hanami Froom, violinist, joining us here right now. And both of you, thanks so much for having some time to talk about this. And I want to get into all of this, but you know what? I'm just realizing right now, I want to ask, where is it that you're at right now?
Greg, we're in the Portland Youth Philharmonic offices on Barber Boulevard, and today we're in the instrument library. This is where all of the instruments which we lent to some of the players of the Portland Youth Philharmonic are stored. Some are quite old. Some of the string instruments that you see, these double basses along the wall, have been with the orchestra practically since the beginning. And also there are quite a few wind instruments that students don't tend to own, like bass clarinets and contrabassoons, that we keep in this room in our office.
That is pretty great just in its own right. I would imagine just going through and checking out all those instruments. I mean, you mentioned some of those you go back almost to the beginning, and we're talking about 101 years of the Portland Youth Philharmonic. Can you fill everybody in just a little bit on the history of the Youth Philharmonic here in Portland?
Yes, it began in the fall of 1924 with a music teacher named Mary Dodge, who was teaching at Irvington School and had an advanced orchestra that rehearsed in her house. And she recruited a conductor from Russia named Jacques Gershkovich to become the conductor of the Portland Junior Symphony, and it became a symphony orchestra of young people that grew to over 100 members and gave concerts 3 to 4 times a year. And it just kept growing, and more ensembles were added over the decades, and now we have 4 full-time ensembles, large ensembles and a few small ones. And our rehearsals are currently taking place at Jackson Middle School in Southwest Portland, not so far from our offices.
And how many youth are involved in the Portland Youth Philharmonic? Because you mentioned 4 ensembles. How many musicians is that?
We're close to 300 total musicians this year in all of our groups, with the Philharmonic Orchestra at about 112 this year.
Wow! So that's a lot of musicians in there that are part of this. And to give everybody just a little bit of that other side of it, how do they join the Youth Philharmonic? How does that process work?
Well, it's an audition process. They play for our conducting staff, and maybe Hanami, who is our returning alumna soloist on violin, one of the most competitive instruments, can talk a little about auditioning. How old were you, Hanami, when you auditioned the first time?
When I first auditioned, I was 7 years old, so about 11 years ago, but that is when I joined their youngest string ensemble.
At 7 years old.
Yeah, they come in, they play some scales and arpeggios and a short solo, and then we give them feedback by email or in some form, and they get a yes or a no and an assignment to an ensemble if they're accepted.
And obviously generations of people now have been involved in the Portland Youth Philharmonic at 101 years. And Hanami, let's talk to you a little bit about that. So you auditioned at 7 years old, and here we are, as you mentioned, about 11 years later. What has it meant for you to be a part of the Portland Youth Philharmonic?
I feel like PYP has been so important as my development as a musician, and not only as a musician, but also as a person, because I grew up going to PYP. Of course, I learned so much from lessons, rehearsals, and concerts, but I also learned a lot from my mentors, like older kids that I really looked up to. I learned about discipline and teamwork, and I feel like playing in a top-level youth orchestra really opened so many different possibilities for me, and it taught me that the intensity and focus is what is required for to really excel in something. And PYP has been that foundation that I still apply to my music making today.
And you mentioned, you had mentors that you looked up to. What does it feel like for you now to be kind of in that role? And I'm sure there's musicians who are looking up to you for guidance and advice.
It feels so cool because I I was actually at rehearsal just 2 days ago with PYP, rehearsing for our upcoming concert on November 9th. But it felt so interesting because I remember just like maybe 5 years ago, I was in their seats, and to be coming back and playing in my hometown with them, it's just such an amazing experience to be able to do.
And we're talking about that November 9th performance coming up. David, could you tell us a little bit about what this one is for people to expect?
Yes, well, Hanami's going to perform the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. That's Peter Tchaikovsky, Russian composer of the 19th century. It's one of the most important concertos for the violin, one of the most difficult concertos for the violin. It's a test against which young violinists aspire to, first of all, learn the notes, be able to play them, but to be able to play them with a full symphony orchestra is a dream of many young violinists. So we're especially proud that one of our own former concertmasters returns to do this. This is the first time I will be doing the complete concerto with PYP. We've done one of the movements in the past, and it's just one of the most exciting, exhilarating pieces of music, and audiences have loved it for well over 100 years. And we'll also be playing two unusual works written in both in the same year, although they're very different pieces. 1937, a symphony by William Grant Still, an African-American composer who worked in all genres of music at the time, but wrote 5 beautiful symphonies with inspiration from both the old and the new world, and a uniquely American sound. And then a piece will open with a piece by Sylvester Revueltas, a forward-thinking Mexican composer who wrote a tone poem, a short tone poem called Sensa Maya, which is named after a poem written by a Cuban poet about a ritual killing of a snake. And it's a little spooky, but geniusly written for the orchestra. So 2 very different pieces from 1937 and a beautiful romantic violin concerto.
I love those dynamics. Yeah, having completely different kinds of music. I'm fascinated by that, to hear that. Well, Hanami, talking to you, just about coming back here, performing in front of the hometown, getting to be here. How does it feel to do that, to be able to return here and perform like that in front of everyone?
Well, Director Hattner said, the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto has been a dream piece for me to be able to play with orchestra, and to be able to do so in my hometown with PYP, which I was once part of, is really a dream come true. And I'm so excited because this concerto is just like an iconic violin concerto. And the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall is such a beautiful space to perform in. So I'm really looking forward to it.
When it comes to youth in music, even youth just being involved in music, there are so many different options that are out there that somebody could go to. For you, what do you think is the most important thing for people to understand about performing traditional classical music like you're doing with this?
Well, I think that PYP, going to a PYP performance is really something special because there is such intense work being done, and all the musicians have there's such a supportive environment. So I feel like if you go to a PYP performance, it's very moving, inspiring, and unforgettable.
Nice. Yeah. And David, for you getting to work with these, incredible young musicians over and over, how important do you think it is for you that young people are involved in music and the arts in general in some way, shape, or form?
Well, for me, it's the source of my professional existence. So it's really important to me personally. But I've always been amazed that if one puts a challenge in front of young people and sets an expectation, regardless of the genuine difficulties, they will do the work that's necessary to meet that challenge. Because if it's presented in an honest way with integrity, the inspiration for the musicians really comes from the composers. This is the most important thing for me, is that I provide a lot of instruction and encouragement, but the real inspiration was written down on the paper by the composers from their great minds. Our curriculum is so vast and interesting and filled with emotions. And in musical performance, the musicians get to interact with those deep emotions and thoughts in a physical, visceral way that very few art forms or other activities allow for. So it gives the exhilaration of the whole body and mind at the same time to the young players to be a part of this. And I wish more young people would take the chance to experience this. It's very hard work. We don't kid ourselves. The point where we even start rehearsing is already so advanced that it requires years of preparation for the musicians. Often some of those years are spent in our younger ensembles. But they're so excited to be in this particular orchestra because when they're first in it, they're a little nervous. Do I really have to do all those things everyone talked about that take so many hours of practice and all that? Yes, you have to, but wait till you're on stage in a concert, which is our first concert on November 9th, will be for 30 or so of those musicians, the first time with this particular orchestra to play. And they will be different people at the end of the evening. And those who attend will get to see that transformation as it takes place. It's a fabulous time of year at PYP.
I mean, and yeah, as you mentioned too, for the crowd that's going to be there, it's a visceral, personal experience for them as well, because you can feel the music, especially when you have a performance with that many talented musicians. And Hanami, a question for you, having gone through this, now coming back, what advice would you have for somebody out there who is looking to maybe even audition or thinking about it to going into the Portland Youth Philharmonic, on something they should think about and something that they can be excited about if they make it?
Some advice I would have for younger kids would be to continue to work hard and, of course, build your technical skills for playing. And besides that, I feel like it's always important to stay inspired, and going to many PYP performances will help you keep inspired, as well as finding like a particular goal that you want to set your mind on can really help. So yes, that would be my advice.
That's great advice. Well, David, just to give everybody, again, an idea of what they can go to and when they can see this. Obviously, there's November 9th, and you also have some other performances beyond that because we're starting up this 101st season. So what's the best way for people to follow along, find out about these performances, and get tickets?
Well, the best way is to go to the Portland Youth Philharmonic website, which is easy to Google, but it's Portland Youth Phil, phil.org. And the whole season of concerts by the Philharmonic, which are 4 days at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall, are there. The 2 dates at Beaverton's Reeser Center for the Arts with our Camerata PYP, which is a superb chamber orchestra that's playing some wonderful concerts there. And the other concerts by our younger ensembles, which take place in various venues around the city of Portland and in some cases just outside the city. So there should be something close to you, but there's something special about seeing the original Philharmonic Orchestra, 112 musicians on stage, going at full strength with great intensity at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. We always have lots of tickets available, so just come on down. There are no rules. There's no dress code for the audience. Clap when you like. Just enjoy yourself and be impressed and amazed by the dedication that these young people that this community helped raise and provide to the orchestra have been doing this for over 100 years. This is the second century, not only of PYP, but of the American Youth Orchestra, because this is the original one. All the thousands of youth orchestras that have followed in the wake of this Portland original. It's one of the most impressive things the city's ever done, is create this organization that supports this orchestra.
That really is incredible and something that everybody should be proud of. And that's a landmark institution, as you mentioned, not just for here, but for all of them, for all these orchestras. So really incredible, and just awesome to see it starting off a second century here with 101, and November 9th, everybody can go see, but all those other dates as well, checking out on the website. And, David and Hanami, thank you very much for having some time to talk to me about this. Really appreciate it. I feel like sometime we should do a show and tell with all those instruments behind you there, just to see. I want to see what's in them in all the cases. But regardless, thank you so much for being able to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
We're always happy to talk to you.
Fantastic. And for everybody watching too, we are live here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back here in a minute. We were talking about the Portland, obviously the Youth Philharmonic and some of the music side. We're going to talk about the comedy side at 1:30. So we're going to switch gears and talk to comedian Jeremiah Coughlin about that. Another art form here that's really thriving in the city of Portland and also nationally known. So that's coming up at 1:30. You can come right back to whatever platform you are on and see me there. You can always watch these videos afterward though on our Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel, kptv.com, or the